Retirement at 52 wasn't the golden dream I'd been sold. The glossy brochures for financial independence promised freedom, but nobody mentioned the crushing monotony that came with it. My days in Willow Grove, a manicured suburb of Raleigh, North Carolina, had devolved into a numbing routine of tweaking my smart thermostat, reorganizing my garage, and binge-watching history specials until my eyes glazed over. I'd sold my logistics company for a 9-figure sum, but money only solved one problem. Time was the real enemy, and I was losing the war. That's why, on a balmy September evening, my backyard transformed into a defiant oasis of life. I called it Willowfest, a one-night rebellion against the beige conformity of suburban life. String lights dangled between the sprawling maples, casting a warm glow over the 200 neighbors and friends who filled my lawn. The air buzzed with the aroma of smoked brisket from a local barbecue truck and the sugary tang of kettle corn. A bluegrass band, the Rusty Strings, filled the night with twangy melodies, their lead guitarist's voice like aged whiskey over gravel. Kids darted through the crowd with sparklers, and my buddies handed out free IPAs from a cooler, a legal workaround I'd carefully planned. Standing on my patio, a cold beer in hand, I felt something I hadn't in years: purpose. This was my masterpiece. But not everyone shared my vision. Through the spotless window of the colonial next door, I spotted the rigid outline of Margaret Hensley, president of the Willow Grove Homeowners Association and self-proclaimed enforcer of order. Even from a distance, her disapproval was a living thing, sharp and sour. For months, she'd fought my festival with every rule in her dog-eared HOA binder. As I watched her silhouette, a reckless surge of pride hit me. I raised my bottle in a mock toast, a silent dare. It was a mistake. Margaret's figure froze, then vanished from the window. Moments later, a blinding flashlight beam sliced through the dusk, aimed at the utility box on our shared property line, the one that powered my house. My stomach dropped. With a sickening thud that reverberated through the ground, the world went dark. The band's amplifiers died mid-chord, the string lights blinked out, and the crowd's laughter dissolved into confused murmurs. The only light came from phone screens and Margaret's flashlight, her silhouette now standing triumphant beside the utility box, a pair of bolt cutters gleaming in her hand. My friend Tom, a burly ex-firefighter, climbed onto the patio, his face pale in the gloom. What just happened? Power surge. I kept my eyes on Margaret. No, Tom, I said, my voice tight. That was sabotage. My mind raced. Calling the police was pointless. They'd already dismissed our disputes as petty. The power company wouldn't send a crew until Monday. The festival would be dead by then, and Margaret would win. I refused to let that happen. This wasn't just about a party, Anna Maria. It was about standing up to a tyrant. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't touched in years. Jack Sullivan, my old college buddy, now the overworked chief of staff for North Carolina's governor. He picked up on the fourth ring, his voice clipped. Dan, I'm at a gala with the mayor. This better be critical. I didn't hesitate. It's worse, Jack. It's the HOA. 3 months earlier, my life was a quiet despair. After cashing out, I'd moved to Willow Grove, expecting a serene chapter. Instead, I found myself drowning in empty days. I tried gardening, but my tomatoes withered. I dabbled in woodworking, producing lopsided coasters. I even tried day trading, which cost me a fortune and my sanity. One morning, watching my robotic mower carve perfect stripes across my lawn, I had an epiphany. My half-acre backyard was a blank canvas, and I was going to paint it with life. Willowfest was born a free, one-night celebration of music, food, and community. I envisioned local bands, food trucks, and neighbors connecting in a way our sterile suburb never allowed. I drafted a detailed proposal, complete with plans for security, portable restrooms, and an 11 p.m. curfew. Naively, I sent it to the HOA board, expecting approval. Margaret's response was a frosty email citing Article 5, Section 3C, Prohibition of Public Gatherings. It was a slap in the face. Undeterred, I attended the next HOA meeting. The clubhouse reeked of bleach and regret, its folding chairs filled with retirees. Margaret sat at the front, flanked by her loyal board members, Evelyn and Harold. She read my proposal aloud, her voice dripping with mockery. "A festival?" she said, peering over her glasses. "Mr. Carter, Article 9b prohibits gatherings exceeding 30 non-residents. Your 200 guests are a violation. I argued that the rule targeted rowdy teens, not family-friendly events. I even mentioned my planned bounce house. She didn't blink. Temporary structures require approval. Is your bounce house pre-certified? I thought not. The meeting was a massacre. Margaret cited noise ordinances, parking restrictions, and something called the visual coherence standard. Defeated, I left, but a spark of defiance grew. That night, I pored over the 400-page HOA bylaws. At 2 a.m., I found my weapon. If no money changed hands and the event was private, the HOA's rules didn't apply. Willowfest wasn't a festival, it was a party, and I was going to throw it. My first allies were the contractors. Mike Buzz Larson, an electrician with a face like weathered leather, surveyed my plans for stage lighting and shook his head. You're building a concert, Dan. You need a 250-amp panel. Got HOA approval. I grinned. Working on it. He glanced at Margaret's house. Did her kitchen wiring last year. She made me rewire it twice because the outlets weren't symmetrical. She lives for this crap. He took the job, muttering about hazard pay. Next was Lisa Torres, a vibrant event planner with a knack for social media. She scanned my plans and laughed. A suburban uprising against the HOA? I'm in. My Instagram followers will eat this up. She was already filming, framing me as a rebel against bureaucracy. This is either epic or a train wreck, she said. Either way, I want cash up front. Margaret struck back days later. A laminated notice appeared on my door, citing unapproved modifications for the stage footings and fining me $50. I retaliated by mailing the fine in pennies, a heavy box that I hoped gave her a hernia. The real battle was over the portable restrooms. I'd rented deluxe units with flushing toilets, but when the delivery truck arrived, Margaret blocked the street, clutching her binder. Article 6, Section 4. No temporary structures in public view, she shouted. I jogged out. Margaret, my guests need bathrooms. Should they use your rose garden? Her eyes narrowed. I'm calling the police. Officers Brooks and Patel arrived, looking exhausted. What's the issue? Brooks asked. Margaret pointed at me. He's turning our neighborhood into a fairground. I explained the restrooms were on my property for a private event. Brooks sighed. Ma'am, you can't block the road. Step aside. Margaret complied, but her glare promised vengeance. The day before Willowfest, Margaret escalated. She called the health department and fire inspector, claiming I was running an illegal food market. I was ready. Each food truck owner received a sign. Dan's private party. All food is a gift. I'd pre-purchased their inventory, turning vendors into caterers. When the inspectors arrived, Margaret trailing them, I offered a free taco. It's a private barbecue, I said. The fire inspector checked my wiring, nodded at Buzz, and left. Margaret was livid, her complaints ignored. That evening, I made a final peace offering, a bottle of Merlot on Margaret's porch. She opened the door, but didn't invite me in. Margaret, I said, let's call a truce. I'll keep the noise low. This wine's a gesture. Her voice was ice. Rules aren't gestures, Daniel. They're the foundation of order. Your party is chaos. She slammed the door. I knew then, she wouldn't stop. When Margaret cut the power, I was out of options except one. Jack's voice crackled with disbelief. An HOA? You're ruining my night over this. I paced the dark patio. She's a dictator, Jack. She killed my festival with bolt cutters. This is about liberty, about fighting petty tyrants. Tell the governor it's a community event crushed by red tape. He loves that angle. Jack paused. Hold on. The line went dead. The crowd was thinning, their phones glowing as they headed for the exit. Margaret stood by her roses, smirking with Evelyn and Harold. Lisa filmed me, her voice upbeat. This is raw, Dan. The dark moment before the comeback. You got a plan. I was about to admit defeat when Jack called back, breathless. The governor's signing an emergency order. Your party's a state priority. State police and power crew are coming now. Sirens wailed. Not the local cops, but the state police, their lights painting the street red and blue. A utility truck followed, its beacon flashing. The crowd froze, thinking the party was over. Margaret's smile widened, expecting victory. She was wrong. A state trooper, built like a linebacker, stepped out, holding a tablet. Officers Brooks and Patel trailed, confused. The trooper approached Margaret. Are you Margaret Hensley? She nodded, indignant. This illegal event must stop. He ignored her, reading aloud. By Executive Order 419, a state of emergency is declared for 214 Willow Grove Lane. Actions disrupting this private event, including utility interference, are prohibited. The crowd gasped. I stifled a laugh. Margaret sputtered. A state of emergency for a party? I'm the HOA president. The trooper was unmoved. State law trumps your rules. Step away from the utility box. Two linemen approached, one muttering, sloppy cut, as he fixed the connection. With a loud clank, power surged back. The lights flared, the amps hummed, and the crowd roared. The rusty strings, sensing the moment, launched into a raucous cover of Sweet Home, Alabama. It was electric. Buzz hugged me, tears in his eyes. You beat her, you mad genius. Lisa live-streamed, shouting, the governor saved Willowfest. Margaret stood defeated, her binder abandoned on the grass. The festival raged on, a defiant triumph. The next morning, my lawn was a battlefield of trampled grass and stray cups. News crews had arrived late, and I'd given a giddy interview about freedom over bureaucracy. Margaret resigned at 3 a.m., her email a curt, I'm done. A for sale sign appeared on her lawn by noon. Officer Brooks stopped by, grinning. My kids saw you on TV. They want tickets for next year. Also, the governor wants a large t-shirt. I laughed. I'll make it happen. As I sipped coffee, Jack's text from 4 a.m. read, You owe me forever. My lawn was a wreck, but it was a monument to victory. Margaret was gone, and Willowfest was legend. I glanced at the empty stage marks, a new idea forming. Willowfest 2, maybe with fireworks. What do you think? Was I right to fight Margaret's tyranny, or did I escalate too far? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on standing up to injustice or dealing with petty power in your life. Let's hear your stance.